Welcome to the Ho-Ho Show.
Rated the #1 most listened to podcast on Pluto. So join us now as we discuss news, politics, current events, and so much more. So clear the airwaves and strap in as we
defend the Constitution, because freedom matters.
broadcasting live from the Kata Studio. Welcome to the Ho-Ho Show. And as always, I'm your host, Ho-Ho. So how y'all's doing? I hope you're doing good. I really do. Today we have yet another not normal show. Seems like I'm doing a lot of those recently. But, you know, I'm going off of the assumption that y'all's know what's going on. You know, y'all's know that, you know, Trump turned himself in. I believe that was on the 23rd, just a few days ago. Mugshot, which I find hilarious because it seems as though the left has already realized that they screwed up. You know, because the first thing that Trump did upon leaving was post on Twitter or X, whatever. He posted his mugshot. I found that hilarious. You know, his first post since January of 2020. And it's his mugshot. Yeah. Tell me he ain't, you know, tell me he's backing down. Go ahead. You know, and pretty much everybody is under the same assumption that this shirt is going to wind up, or I'm sorry, you know, this mugshot is going to wind up everywhere. T-shirts, mugs, tumblers, flags, windows, bumper stickers, vinyl wrap, who knows? It's going to wind up everywhere. It's going to be the meme of all memes, kind of like Chuck Norris. You know, he is the meme. And this is going to turn into the meme by both the left and the right for completely different reasons. You know, I really do, you know, yeah, it's going to wind up everywhere. You're already seeing it, you know. It's already happening. It's already coming. I'm assuming that you watched the hour-long or so interview that Tucker Carlson had with Donald Trump. Very good interview, by the way. I do highly recommend watching that. Head over to, you know, X or Twitter, you know, whatever. It's still twitter.com. You know, it's changed the branding and doesn't change the website. I'm assuming y'all know about, you know, the debates, you know, the first Republican debate. I'm assuming you know about that. I'm assuming you've heard some of the information that came out in Georgia with evidence that, you know, there was some people that was deputized that were given iPads, access to voter rolls, ballots, and was able to delete some of these ballots without any oversight from election boards. But yet, you know, everything's above board. There's nothing to see here. No fraud, you know. I'm assuming you know about the stuff going down with Hunter Biden with, his, the receipts that they've basically got with, yes, Biden's family was enriched, regardless of whether Joe Biden himself received any money. His family was still enriched, and therefore that is still, legally speaking, bribery. But yet, nothing to see here. I'm assuming y'all know all that. Now, look, for those of you who don't know, I consume a lot of information throughout the week. I listen to a lot of radio, a lot of podcasts. I'm listening to David Webb. I'm listening to Andrew Wilkow, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, Stacey Washington on the podcast side. And by the way, all those are just on SiriusXM, the Patriot Channel 125. I definitely recommend checking them guys out. But I also listen to a lot of podcasts like Dan Bongino, Louder with Crowder, Glenn Beck, a little bit of Ben Shapiro, Walsh, Matt Locke. I listen to him. Hutch Bailey Jr., Wayne Dupree. I mean, there's quite a few people that I listen to. And of course, the other member of Weaponized Sloth Productions, Brandon Gatton of the Machine Radio Show. I consume a lot. I've got Flipboard. And you can still, even though this is going to be a not normal show, you can still head on over to thehohoshow.com. Click on the newsfeed tab. You'll see my magazine over there on Flipboard, my go-to hub, my one-stop shop for anything, everything, and all things news. And by the way, it's not my one-stop shop. It's kind of a lie because I get a lot of stuff from a lot of different websites. I mean, good grief. I've got, I got stuff that I get emailed to me. I've got Breitbart, News Daily, Newsmax, Red State, The Blaze, The Federalist, The Daily Wire, The Daily Caller, Real Clear Politics, Just the News, good outlet, by the way, Conservative Brief, Ground News, Conservative Review, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of places. I get news from a lot of different sources. And there's frustrating things that I hear whenever I'm listening to podcasts, whenever I'm listening to, satellite radio. Now, I mean, granted, I'm going to give a little bit of a pass to those, on the Patriot Channel 125 because this is non-union corporate radio. They are, even though it's satellite radio, not beholden to the FCC. They're still beholden to, Sirius XM. And there's certain things that they just don't want to say, can't say, that would look badly if they did. And on those aspects, I get it. But whenever it comes to, those on podcasts, whenever you have way more freedom to basically say whatever's in your heart, on your mind, what have you, that's kind of like, Now, last week's show, we talked about 3 different songs. We talked about Oliver Anthony's Rich Man North of Richmond. We talked about Struggle Jennings and Caitlin Curtis with, what song was that? Cries of the Crusader. We talked about Tom McDonald and, am I saying that right? I think so. And Calhoun with American Flags. Excellent song. I highly recommend checking those out. And if you haven't listened to that podcast, last week's episode, check that out too. But there's a question that I'm asking today, and it's an important question. And I'm 10 minutes into this stinking thing, and I haven't even got to it yet. But it is what is that question? What's the title of this stinking thing? No, where is your line? There we go. Man, where's your line? Where is your line? I'm going to read from the Declaration of Independence right quick. Okay. And once I read it, I'll kind of go through and say a few of the things of, that it's talking about, what it's saying. Okay? But I want you to hear what it is I'm saying. If you have a pocket constitution, a print up of it, if you have a hard copy like I got, you open it up, read it. Okay? Declaration of Independence. Let's go along. Let's read this real quick. Let's get into it. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal stations to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. In other words, they're declaring that, yes, we're separating from Great Britain. We have our reasons, and we're going to let you know. This is our decision. This is why we made it. Let's be clear, okay? Now we go into the part that everybody knows. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But it doesn't stop there. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. In other words, we're the drivers of the car, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Let's continue. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. In other words, who better to know what is best for me and mine but me? Government can't do that. They don't know me as well as I do. They don't know you as well as you do. You're the only one that can truly govern your life, your town, your county, your whatever. You're the only one that can do that because you're the only one that really knows the problems that you have. It's up to you. Continuing on. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. In other words, the federal government was designed to be slow, because true governance rests locally. It's how it was intended. That's why on a federal level, government moves slowly, because they're not supposed to just go by the winds of change. That's not the point of federal government. It's bigger things, national interests against foreign entities or whatever. It's not to govern your everyday life. Let's continue. There we go. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. In other words, as long as you can still live your life, it doesn't really matter what government does, because if it doesn't affect you personally, right there in your face, unlike how things have been for the past handful years, then we're just going to carry on. Because if it doesn't affect me personally in the here and the now, then it doesn't really matter. Let's continue. Insufferable. Yeah, then to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. I think I read that part already. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing Invariably, this is small print, invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. It is the right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards to their future security. And that's where I'm going to stop. That's not where the Declaration of Independence stops, but that's where I'm going to stop. When the federal government no longer has your best interest, that doesn't work based off of the consent of the government for the betterment and well-being of the people, we, the people, then it is our right, it's our duty to do something about it. That's what that's saying. Pretty clear, pretty simple. We're 15 minutes in. We'll keep going. There's things going on that trouble me. A lot of things going on that's troubling me. You know, we have, for the Constitution has been torn up. Essentially, President Trump was arrested for exercising his First Amendment rights. Since when is exercising your rights a radical, illegal thing to do? Well, that's the thing. It's not illegal to do that. They're making it illegal, saying that the election was stolen. I mean, Hillary Clinton did that in 2016. Who's her face from that one state did it in 2020. Why aren't they being indicted? Because this whole thing is political and everybody knows it. Everybody knows it's political. Everybody knows that Trump did not do anything wrong. It's political. I mean, do I have to point out that article that I have over on Medium with the 5 states and the things that they did? I mean, heck, the news that I just gave you today with people that deleted ballots, voter information on their own without any oversight whatsoever. Hello. Nothing to see here. They're working hard and diligently to take away our Second Amendment so that this way they can more effectively take away our First. They're already silencing us because there was government involvement with shutting down of conservatives and Republicans on social media platforms, with censoring stories that were inconvenient for the people to know, like the Hunter Biden laptop, which they knew 2 weeks after they got that laptop that the laptop was authentic. Let's put it that way. They might not have known what all was in there. I mean, it takes a little bit longer than 2 weeks to go through a laptop with that much stuff on it, but they knew it was credible. They knew it was authentic. They knew it was Hunter Biden's. They knew that 2 weeks after they picked it up from the computer repair shop. How can I say that with the utmost certainty of knowing that I'm right? Simple. Because they went there. The FBI went back to the guy and said, hey, did you make copies of the hard drive? The guy was like, no, I didn't. He lied. But that's what he said. Why would they be concerned if they haven't already figured it out yet? Brian Particulars, you look pretty comfortable. Did you get the AC fixed after making Brandon and Matt sweat their butts off Thursday night? No. Well, see, okay, that's the thing. There's 4 air conditioners in here. I ain't got central air. The main one in the living room is still broke. I need to fix that, this late in the season. It's hot though, man. It's hot. But I have an air conditioner in here and it works. It still works good. It does a good job in this room. Just got to turn it on, So, I mean, that's on them. It was on whenever I came home. So, I mean, although it was freaking hot though. I mean, Thursday when they came here, it probably hadn't cooled off very much. So, I mean, it's pretty hot. So, yeah. But no, it's not fixed yet. But people, there's a lot going on. Okay. Now, here's what most people are going to tell you. Use the system, work the system. Okay. Here's my thing, man. I mean, you look at the condition of everything, and it's like, honestly, and I hate to say it, it might be too late for that. The reason I say that is simple. I mean, the Democrats, while we were being proud of being the silent majority, the silent majority, what were they doing? They were working. They were taking over everything from the bottom up, from the top down. They were attacking it from both directions. They were getting into local government as long as, as well as getting into more bigger government, with state government and everything else. I mean, they were working their way around the system. They didn't come off as radical and as far to the left as they are because they wanted to be more consumable by the majority of people until, they kind of, took over everything. And then that's when the real crap starts to happen, whenever they no longer have any opposition. Look at major cities. It's a hellhole. People want to complain all the time about how Democrat cities are running. It's like, oh, so, and you want to claim this, that, and the other. You want to call it systemic racism. Well, who's running the system from top to bottom in these cities? Democrats are. So the problem's Democrats, but yet you don't have the wherewithal to recognize it and start voting for somebody else other than a freaking Democrat. Okay. But that's what they were doing, just building their coalition. Yeah. The Republic is dead. Not sure if you're aware of that yet, but the Republic is dead. The job of Congress is to, represent us, we the people. Do they? Do they? No. I mean, not to mention that from all of government, from top to bottom, is run not by, it's run by private organizations. The RNC, the DNC, these are private entities, privately owned entities. You go into Walmart, you talk to a cashier, you talk to a stock person, you talk to a manager. It doesn't matter who you talk to somebody. Are they going to listen to you? No. Why? They don't work for you. They work for Walmart. They have Walmart's best interest in mind. Yeah, you shop there. You're the reason why they have a job. But when push comes to shove, they don't listen to you. You're not their boss. Same thing goes with all these people that are in public office right now, especially in national government. Do these people have to listen to you? No. Does any of them have to listen to you? No. And if you were in their position, would you listen to you? I mean, think about it. I mean, you have the option. It's like, are you going to listen to, the company that employs you, the people who paid for your campaign and pay for your nice, shiny objects that you have, or are you going to listen to a guy that the only thing they do is put a mark on a ballot every 2 to 4 years? That's it. Our founding fathers warned against a two-party system because they knew that it would boil down to the only thing we did was vote for a candidate based off of the R or the D next to their name, that it didn't matter who the individual was. All we were doing were voting for party, and that was it. Do you really think they care what you think? No. I mean, look at what's going on in government right now. Are these people working for you, or do they have your best interests in mind whenever you look at the national debt, whenever you look at, shutting down our own oil, the Keystone XL pipeline, shutting down land leases and drilling rights and everything else, but yet at the same time going, allowing Russia to do what they wanted with their pipeline, spending all kinds of money on other people's stuff, and then saying that, Biden doing that had absolutely nothing to do with the reason why gas prices went up. And then, you hear an interview that he says, and it's like, hey, the best way to cripple an economy is to shut down their fuel supply, the oil supply. Wait, that's what you did to us. And then you're going to say it's an accident and you had nothing to do with it. Whose interest are they after? When they say by the year 2035 that everybody's going to be in an electric vehicle because they're going to outlaw gas vehicles, and, they put a 20-year moratorium on all earth mineral rights in the U.S., forcing us to buy from countries where all that money goes to China. And they have your best interest in mind. Totally ignoring the fact that, the power grid can't even handle it regardless. They want to get away from coal, natural gas, oil, even nuclear. What are they going to go to? Nothing can handle it. Increasing increasing the demand on the power grid while trying to simultaneously lower supply is a recipe for disaster. The old ballots used to have to where you could vote either straight Republican ticket or straight Democrat ticket. Yeah, they did. And I'm glad some places I think still do that. I don't know, because you got to be either way. You can ask for Republican or Democrat, but I don't know of any time since that I remember where that's how it's been done here. And I've voted for both sides of the party, both sides of the political spectrum. I've voted for Democrats. I've voted for Republicans. I've voted for independents. I absolutely have. Yeah, old ballots used to do that. But I think too many people threw up a stink and was like, look, I'm voting for an individual. I'm not voting for a party. Give me a ticket that's got everybody on it. That's the fairest way to be, and think about it. You can't just look at a ballot and go, oh, well, this is, this person's a Republican, this person's a Democrat, because the ballots, I'm sure, were probably different. But anyway, yeah. The Republic is dead. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They're not working for our best interest. They are working for theirs. They're working for their party, and they're working for the best interest of the people who put money in their pockets and buy their shiny things, or buy them shiny things. That's who they represent, not us. So we no longer have a constitution. We no longer have a republic. And depending on how this plays out with President Trump, we no longer have a judicial that defends and represents the Constitution. Brian puts in and goes, somebody's going to have to pedal a bicycle to power your house. Dude, have you ever read... Well, there's a book by, actually, I believe it's a 2-part series, a book that Glenn Beck did, Agenda 21. It's one of the things it talks about is that very thing right there. And before you write it off as, dystopian fantasy, just a fearmonger like Glenn Beck, that, well, no, he's getting his information, and these ideas come straight from the Agenda 21 playbook that the federal government has. That's how they want to do things. And yeah, that's how it is in the book. A bicycle that you got to pedal in order to get power to your house, and not just power to your house, it's powering the entire grid. Instead of having wind, it's bicycles, which 15 Million Marriage, part of Black Mirror, that talks about that same thing too, to be honest with you. Scary stuff whenever, you look at that kind of stuff and it's like, well, this isn't necessarily science fiction or a dystopian, a typical dystopian. This is what the Democrats want to do, and they're open and honest about it. They even put the game plan of what they intend on doing. And yet we're the crazy ones whenever we point out this is what they're wanting to do. Uh-oh. And hello, Dave, over there in Spreaker land. He goes, great mugshot, love it. Yes, that was the Donald Trump mugshot that I put there as the, the thumbnail for the show over there on Spreaker. Yes, I love it. But that's what we're dealing with right now, though. We've lost the republic. We've lost the Constitution because they shredded it. It doesn't mean anything anymore. You know, when they can just tear away your rights because they claim that, oh, well, you know, there's this deadly virus. Oh, Brian puts in there, he goes, I've got it. It's a very good book. Yes, it is. I've read it, and it was a very, very good book. Again, that was Agenda 21 by Glenn Beck. And I definitely recommend people pick it up and read it. It's important. It's definitely important. But one of the next things we got to look into is if the judges are going to allow this to slide. Because, I mean, let's not forget, okay? The whole point of the judges is to make sure that laws and how they are executed goes hand in hand with the Constitution. Their job is to defend the Constitution, represent the Constitution, if you will. That's what their job is. That's what they're supposed to do, as per the Constitution. You know, but when you look at what has been going on, okay, let me point out something else, okay? You have the Declaration of Independence. After it gets through with basically what I had read at the beginning of the show, it goes against all of the transgressions that the crown did, that the colonies had to suffer under with the king. There's like 31, 33 specific transgressions that they specify in the Declaration of Independence as to why they are breaking away from the crown. I went through this in depth at one point in time. A few years ago. Even did a show. It's available out there. Knowing the transgressions, I believe, is what it was entitled, if you want to go through the archives and look that up. Every single one of them was something that the federal government is doing to us right now. What if I told you, would you believe me if I told you and informed you that we actually had more freedom under the crown than what we do right now? Because that's true. I mean, you didn't have to go to the government and say, you know, can I pull my wagon, license it, this, that, and the other. No, it was just done. People took care of it, or people didn't take care of the roads. I understand it was a different time, but they still didn't have to go government may I with fishing in public waterways. They didn't have all that crap. Yeah, they had their issues, don't get me wrong, but you know, they actually lived under more freedom then than what we currently do now. What does that say about it? But with everything of what's going on, like everybody knows that what President Trump is going through right now is completely 100% political. Okay? Everybody knows this. Yes, there was election interference. Yes, there was fraud. You can head over to my Medium account. You can read that article, whatever the heck that thing is called. I don't even remember right now. Let me head on over here. Okay, you can go to thehoshow.com, scroll down towards the bottom of the page. You'll see other content available here. Click on the Medium, which is that weird looking thing. The headline is 5 states and the illegal votes. Everything's lined up there. Things that happened that went against what the legislative branch said that they were supposed to do, and yet, again, there's nothing to see here. One of the things, I was listening to somebody else, and they had said that, that the deep state, okay, that they have transcended laws. Regulations has transcended laws, as in it's more powerful than. Okay? I'm going to pull up something. I want you to take a look at it. Okay? Oh, crap. That's the wrong document. A while back ago, I looked up this information because I was curious about it. Okay? Laws versus regulations. Okay? Laws versus regulations. That's what we're looking into. Okay? Now, for those of you that don't know, the legislative branch, as in the House of Representatives and the Senate, their job is to write laws. It's not the job of the executive branch. So all these regulations that the executive branch puts out, well, technically speaking, they're unconstitutional. Brian puts in here, he goes, they didn't need an FOID card to buy ammunition either. Exactly. But all the rules, okay, now Dave can attest to this, okay? My life is governed as a truck driver by the DOT, by the Department of Transportation. This little bitty green book controls and runs my life even now. I'm logged as off duty. My life is lived on a logbook. Let's say I'm driving down the road and I break one of the hours of service regulations, whether it be the 8-hour rule, the 11-hour rule, the 34-hour rule, the 70-hour rule. There's a lot of them. And I'm driving down the interstate, and next thing you know, there's oncoming traffic. I got a rail on one side, I got a bus full of kids on the other side, and the guy runs smack into me. Suicide by truck. Guess who's getting the ticket? I didn't do anything wrong. I'm getting the ticket. You want to know why? Because I violated the hours of service regulations. It doesn't matter who's actually at fault. I'm getting the ticket because their mind frame is, if I hadn't violated the hours of service regulation, then I wouldn't have been there in the first place and the accident never would have happened. But this doesn't apply to criminal justice at all. Remember the story? This has been several years back. A guy's breaking into a house, falls through the skylight, lands on an island where there is a knife. The person gets cut, sues the homeowner for damages, and wins the case. Are you kidding me? If the criminal hadn't have been doing criminal things, they never would have gotten hurt in the first place. They shouldn't have been there. Doesn't matter where the homeowner puts their knife. They're not supposed to be there. Why doesn't the same logic apply? I have no flippin' idea. But back to my point of regulations has transcended laws. Because again, with regulations, okay? Now, as a truck driver, DOT, the legal limit used to be 0. So it used to be way worse than what it is now, because right now the legal limit for DUIs, alcohol consumption, is 0.04. Brian puts in here, he goes, they write laws and give oversight to all these other agencies in that too. Kind of. I mean, how much oversight, because, yeah, that's their justification, right? Because they have oversight to all these different agencies, departments, and yada, yada, blah, blah. Brian puts in and goes, yes, I don't think they're doing their job. Well, if they have oversight, then why is it during an ongoing investigation, Congress can't see what the heck the Department of Justice is doing, the FBI is doing? They can't question people. If they have oversight, they should be able to question people. Why don't they? Why are they being stopped and getting basically the hand, the FU finger, by trying to do their job, if that's the job that they actually have? Exercise your power, or just admit that you have no power whatsoever were ruled by fiat by a bunch of unelected officials that don't care about any of us. Because that's where we're at now. Okay, but back to this whole legal limit thing. It used to be zero tolerance across the board. As in, if you got pulled over, suspicion, you blew a .01, I lost my license. Legal limit is .08. Now it's .04 as a CDL holder. So now, even if I blow a .05, which is under the legal limit, but it's not under regulation limit, I lose my license. Regulations written by unelected bureaucrats as part of the executive branch has more power and authority than what actual laws that are written, passed by the House, passed by the Senate, signed into law by the president. That's what you're looking at right now. Bunch of unelected bureaucrats that are not beholden to the people. Here's the new boss, same as the old boss. But let me tell you and show you just how bad it is. Okay? I looked up numbers. I looked up digits. I was actually kind of curious. I wanted to know. So I looked up some stuff. And here's what I found. From the year 1995 to 2016, the average is 95.41% of all the rules that you have to live by are regulations that were passed not by the legislative branch, but by the executive branch in the form of regulations. Let me say that again, 95.41%. Through those years, that is 4,274 laws that were written. Okay? 4,274 laws that were written and 93,173 regulations that was written. I thought it was a job of the executive branch to write laws. But apparently they've given that power over to the executive branch, and they wonder why we have issues. Brian puts in there and goes, they're being stopped because it all boils down, well, to money? To what? You didn't complete your thought, man. And I mean, in a matter of speaking, I get why they've allowed it to happen. That whole plausible deniability thing. This way they can do the leftist agenda crap that they want to do, and yet they're not responsible or held accountable by the people for what goes on. There's certain things that are in place to keep these people in power. Again, that plausible deniability thing, when you elect a president, I mean, hey, this wasn't me. And I'm powerless to do anything about it. It takes an act of Congress. And you guys know Congress. Congress can't agree on anything. Brian puts in there, he goes to one set of rules for them and once for us. Yeah, exactly. Because, and this is the thing, too, that irks me. We're supposed to be government of the people, by the people, for the people, as in the political class is no different than us. In fact, they are us. They're supposed to live with us, among us. I love it how you have in Washington, D.C., all these people that are whining, crying, complaining about we want statehood when, why? Y'all are only supposed to be temporary fixtures over there. You're supposed to go back to the places where you represent. Support staff is basically the only thing that's supposed to be up there besides some businesses, and they're supposed to live outside that, 10 miles square? All that is? Go back to your state. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how it was designed to be. Because our founding fathers said that no one state should have that much control over the functions of government. That's why they did it like that. We're going to get into our question. at the other side of the break, because we really need to stop and think about this as a nation, as a people. We really do. Consider your options. Consider where you stand. And I got some email addresses I'm going to hand out to you whenever I get over to it, whenever we get back. So just a couple minutes. Think about it. Do you work at any of the myriad of jobs where you might have to sit on your bum all day? Well, if so, maybe you know what it's like to suffer from the condition known as swamp ass. Well, if so, have I got the solution for you.
Anti-monkey butt powder.
That's right.
Anti-monkey butt powder.
You can use it indoors, outdoors, work or play, or on any occasion when you sit on your bum all day. Don't let your buns get red. Use anti-monkey butt powder instead. Available wherever anti-friction powder is sold. All right, and we are back. So that's something to consider, okay? When they are rendering impotent the Second Amendment, when they've taken away your freedom of speech, you can't question the result of an election, and unless, of course, you're Democrat, then you can do whatever the heck you want to. You don't have the freedom of speech. You don't have the freedom of press because government has co-opted with social media to remove anything that they don't want on there. And there's receipts. We have the receipts. That's fact. We have the receipts. Address your government with a redress of grievances. Can't do that because they don't care. You can't even talk to your attorney about it because they've eliminated attorney-client privilege. That's why virtually the entire Trump legal team got arrested on RICO charges. That's ridiculous. When you can't use this to try to right the ship, when being a patriot who has read, believes, understands the Constitution, who loves their nation, who stands and puts your hand on the heart whenever you hear the national anthem, when you salute the flag, when you take your hat off, When you say the Pledge of Allegiance, we're the bad guys. We're the homegrown terrorists. We're the ones that are on the watch list and got to watch out for that guy. When we're the people that red flag laws were written about, when you can't do anything to right the ship, what are you left with? What are you left with? Where's your line? Where's the line that if the government crosses it, even by one step, it is a step too far? Where is your line? A legitimate question. And I want y'all to think about it. I really do. Because it's important. And I think things are about to get really bad, really quick. Our economy is in shambles. You got World War III knocking at the door. Brian Pizzigno goes, I needed some of that last week and last week. Or I'm assuming this week and last week. Yeah. Where's your line? Our nation is in jeopardy. Again, man, I've never served our nation. You know, I have family members that have served in World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm, Desert Shield. And those are only the ones that I know of. Regardless of putting on the uniform, I was raised honor, loyalty, respect. I am a patriot through and through. Not just bone deep. It ain't in my blood. It's in my soul. I mean, it really is that simple. I know on an academic level that it'll break me. But I understand as a man, that's what my job is. That's my purpose. I get it. If it breaks me, it breaks me. Regardless of whether I survive, I know I'm not going to live through it. But it's still a choice that you got to make. I've made mine. I know where I stand. Have you made yours? I get some of my best ideas in a ticked off mindset. The sarcasm comes out. You know, I had something run through my head, and it was like, ooh, that sounds like an amazing domain. I'm going to check to see if that domain is available. So I looked it up. Suckdanut.com. That's SUCKDANUT.com. That's the domain that I bought not that long ago. I have several domains. Some of them are absolutely amazing, like torchedanus.com. Another one. I love it. But suckdanut.com. And the frame of mind went something like this. You don't like what I have to say? You're against me? Fine. Send your hate mail to left@suckdanut.com. If you want to send fan mail out, send that. Or if you are a supporter of the program, if you're a supporter of patriots and patriotism, if you are a defender, if you support the Constitution, send your email to right@suckdanut.com. But if you're a patriot, if you're somebody that understands what your job is, if you are a veteran who understands that there was no expiration date on your oath to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, if you understand what our founding fathers said whenever they said that the tree of liberty must be watered from time to time with the blood of tyrants, if you understand that our Second Amendment, what the purpose of it is, that our founding fathers, prior to writing the Constitution, didn't come back from a hunting trip, then send your email to taint, TAINT, at suckedinut.com. That is SUCKDANUT.com. Don't you love those email addresses? Yes, those are set up. Yes, those are working. And yes, I will receive your emails. I want to know where you stand. Do you hate my message? Do you support my message? Do you defend the Constitution? That's your three choices. That's it. But I want you to keep in mind, I want you to understand what is going on right now. We have a former president. This is election interference through and through. That's the only way to look at it, because that's all it is. To keep President Trump off the ballot in 2024 because they're terrified of him. We have political prisoners in our nation right now. You want to know who else put their political adversaries in prison and or killed them? Because that's the next step. Something that Tucker Carlson even asked Trump was the next logical step of what's going on. They haven't been able to get you any other way. There is to kill you. Are you afraid that your life is in jeopardy, that you might get assassinated? He's like, yeah, these people are crazy. It's a thought that's in his mind. He understands the danger that he's in. We have political prisoners in our nation because they are afraid that he might get rid of them. Arrest them. Put their family in jail. We have political prisoners. You want to know who else put their political prisoners behind bars and or killed them? Well, Hitler did. Putin does. Mao, Stalin. These are evil people who did evil things to remain in power. That's what's going on right now in our own country, something that I thought would never happen. Do you understand what's at risk? I hate shows like this. I really do, because it's not a place I want to be. It's not something I want to think about. It sure as hell ain't something I want to talk about. I hate shows like this. But you know what? Somebody's got to say it. And I don't hear people talking about this. I don't hear people just putting it out there. Yo, we're in trouble. You're in danger, Molly. You in danger. Name that movie. Name that movie. I don't hear people talking about it. So I'll be that guy. Dave puts in here, he goes, they are so afraid of him. It's amazing. What is the amazing pot of gold that Trump is, threatening to take away from the swamp people? It must be something so amazing, more amazing than just power and or money. What is it? What is this pot of gold that Trump is a threat to? Well, the obvious thing, I mean, it is power. I mean, think about it, you know. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. actually has even come out and said that he is absolutely convinced that the CIA killed JFK. Just threw a lot of letters in there. He's convinced of it. Do you want to know why? Because he threatened to dismantle the intelligence agencies. That's what he did. He threatened to take away their power. I mean, you take away their power, what are they left with? You know, I mean, people whom get power rarely are willing to let it go. I mean, you've heard the whole adage, you can vote your way into socialism, but you have to shoot your way out of it. Why? Because once they get that taste of power and that control to where they can just do virtually whatever they want, they don't want to let go of it again. That's why I say you've got to make that choice, because the federal government has had this power for so long. They're not going to give it back to the people. We have a constitution that is unlike any other form of government in the entire planet, nothing like what we have ever had before. The Constitution places limitations on the federal government, and it doesn't grant freedom to the people. It simply acknowledges that you have freedoms that were given to you by God. What God has given you, let no man take away. What man has given you, man can take away. The Constitution acknowledges that as a fundamental basis for what this nation was founded upon. Restrictions to the federal government and freedom to the people. Do we know the freedoms that were intended to us by our founding fathers? No, we don't. Now that the federal government has taken that power through the EPA, the FBI, the CIA, the Department of Justice, Department of Homeland Security, don't forget about the CHE. I'm unfamiliar with that acronym. But there's somewhere in the neighborhood of like 100 plus different agencies of the executive branch. All of them have power. All of them have an arsenal of weapons and ammunition, including the Department of Education. They're preparing to fight a war. And losing our freedom is what it takes. That's what's at stake. They put in there, he goes, devil's advocate. Playing devil's advocate, I get it, dude, and I love that kind of stuff. I really do. That's one of the things about being a, Brian puts in there, he goes, Ghost. He's got that reference. That is awesome. Ghost. That's that reference. I debate like that too. I'll throw out things to play devil's advocate, to make people think things through, and it's an aspect of know your position. That's know your position. Be willing to defend your position. It's like nothing irritates me more than somebody that just spouts out crap out of their mouth that they don't truly believe nor understand and is nothing more than just bumper sticker quotes. I despise it. I hate that kind of stuff. And, you want to debate people on the left, and the majority of the time what you get is, a question, two questions, a little bit of a back and forth in there. What do they resort to? Name calling. Why? Because they don't have the mental capacity to actually debate you on the issues, and they know they're wrong. But there is a lot of there's a lot at stake, man. Dave puts in there, goes, devil's advocate. So after 60 years, the CIA has been able to find corrupt agent after corrupt agent and maintains all this secrecy, this ideology. That's a bit conspiratorial. I understand the the frame of mind on that. I mean, I really do. It does sound very conspiratorial. But the CIA has their hands in a lot of pots. Okay, let me give you a couple facts here. A series of random factoids that may or may not be related. Now, first, I want to ask you a question, and I'm not wanting an answer. I just want you to think about this. Do you remember 9/11? Do you remember 9/11? Where you were at when the Twin Towers came down, when the planes hit the Twin Tower? Do you remember where you were at? That was the JFK of the previous generation, his assassination. You see, when asked, there's a particular somebody whom, when asked, he was, I'll just say his name, George Bush Sr. He was asked where he was on that day. He was like, I got no idea. You look at pictures from the day before, he is pictured with JFK and of various other people. After JFK was assassinated, you had, what was the reports that was done? I forget I don't remember the reports, the investigation that was done. Do you realize how much information they completely ignored during the course of that information? The fact that before one of the official autopsies were done to JFK's body after he was deceased, the wound was so butchered that there wasn't anything they can get from the autopsy. They couldn't prove anything. But there was so much information that was ignored, that was left out, that was stricken from the record. Why? Because they wanted the whole lone gunman theory, even though there were people that testified of things that they seen and things that they heard coming from different direction than just from the book suppository. Eyewitness accounts of Lee Harvey Oswald being in a place that was impossible for him to be in, completely relaxed after the assassination. Impossible. I'm not saying that he didn't have anything to do with it, but I'm saying it just goes deeper than that. Things that, it's like, and if there's nothing to see here, then there's nothing to see here. But isn't it peculiar how Donald Trump tried to declassify everything surrounding the JFK assassination, and the CIA would not allow it to happen? Why do you think that is? Is it because there are prominent people still alive that would be embarrassed, their reputation very much put in jeopardy? And, let me ask you a question. What's the statute of limitations on murder? Could that be why this information never was allowed to be declassified? Because President Trump wanted to. They said no. Now again, I don't know. I wasn't there. But I don't trust the government. I have very much of a healthy disrespect for the government. It sounds peculiar. If there's nothing to see here, then why hide anything? I hate the fact that the federal government uses classified things to hide things that are sensitive. Not a matter of national security. Doesn't put people's lives in danger. But, it's just inconvenient for people to know. It makes us look bad if people were to know this. That most of the things that you see classified nowadays, that's why it's classified. Why is it classified? Because it makes them look bad. It paints a very unflattering picture as to what goes on behind closed doors, stuff that they don't want us to know about. that if we did, maybe we would take a little bit more of an aggressive stand with what's going on in Washington, D.C. The less you know. Putting more walls between us and them, because these walls that go up between us but yeah, I don't trust government. What have they done to Trump? I mean, now it's come out that, we have, Joe Biden had aliases that he hid in different places of government. He had pseudonyms and whatnot. Actually, Brian, no, that's not true. He just put in there JFK's killer or killers probably didn't live to see the end of the day. No, that's not true. From what I heard, from what I know, the person who took the kill shot, which that's assuming I'm right, he's still alive. Actually became head of the CIA. I mean, granted, there were people that were killed. I mean, why else would a mob guy kill Lee Harvey Oswald? For no apparent reason. I mean, he had no reason to kill Lee Harvey Oswald. Why did he approach him? Why did he pull the trigger on him? I mean, just a random act of violence? I don't buy that. I have a healthy distrust for government because I've seen what they do. I've seen their plans for how they want to treat United States citizens. I see how they throw the book at former U.S. presidents while ignoring the crimes of Democrats that they like. I see how the government has like the full lives system where they say that, between, before the age of 5 and after the age of 70? Not even 70. That your life means nothing anymore. That you should just go out to pasture. That, through Obamacare, what they're wanting to instill is that, after the age of 70, when you are no longer contributing to society, that you should no longer get the rewards of society, aka health care. That's one of the things they wanted to do. I know the plans of government. Why do you think I don't trust them? I have zero trust for government. Absolute power corrupts, absolutely. It's not a question. And we've seen it. We've seen how it corrupts. No, I don't trust government. I don't trust government any more than I can throw an elephant. Baby or otherwise. I'm weak. I can't throw an elephant. Are you kidding me? I'd be good to be throwing his trunk. Yeah, I just don't. Government, and our founding fathers believed this too. The government was a necessary evil. Let me say that again. The government, the federal government, the U.S. Constitution, in fact, was a necessary evil. They didn't want to do it. What did they have first? The Magna Carta, where it was basically no federal government. It was more or less, some people that were put in a certain place that really didn't have any power or authority to do anything. Well, the state started arguing about some stuff. Some stuff happened. Some things that they needed to get resolved that the Magna Carta didn't solve, that didn't answer these questions, didn't, have any contingency for this eventual outcome. That's why they were forced into writing the Constitution. It wasn't their first place that they wanted to go. They were forced to write the Constitution. They had to give just a little bit more power to the federal government, but not so much that they become tyrannical and rule everything and take over the entire country. That wasn't what they had in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for you today. That's it. I want you to think. Know thine enemy. If you're a hater of the program, send me hate mail. left@suckthenut.com. If you're a fan, if you're a supporter, send your email to right@suckthenut.com. And if you're a patriot, send it over to Taint. I love that. And yeah, I told Gatton those, and he's like, oh, that's amazing. It was actually his idea to come up with taint@suckthenut.com. That was his idea. That was Brandon. That was all him. Brandon of the Machine Radio Show. All right, guys. So that's all I got for you today. That's it. Hopefully next week we'll get back on track with normal shows covering normal topics, and maybe we can get off of this crap that I've been on for the past couple of weeks. Hopefully we can do that. There is some stuff to check out over in the magazine on Flipboard. You can head on over to thehohoshow.com. Click on that news feed tab. You'll see that magazine over there. Check that out. There is articles over there, including the wonderful Trump mugshot. You can check that out. It's over there as well. Check it out. All right, guys, that's all I got. Y'all have yourself a great one. I thank you very much for stopping by, for participating. Y'all are amazing. And I really do appreciate it. Thank you much. So y'all have a good one. Till next time. This has been The Ho-Ho Show. For more information, you can head to thehohoshow.com. And for the merchandise store, you can head on over to stinkpickle.com. That is stinkpickle.com. Until next time.